Let's talk about legalized pot. It has been legal in Colorado now for 3 months, and there were many people predicting, particularly on Fox News, that this was going to be the Armageddon. Crime was going to be crazy. Everyone was going to be smoking dope. The kids, don't forget about the kids. We have video. This is on Fox News. This is GOP State Representative Jared Wright predicting what was going to happen once weed was legalized.
And overall, Representative, how's it going in Colorado with pot being legal?
We've had reports from our law enforcement officials. Recently, the Denver police chief commented that the rollout has gone smoothly. As of a couple days ago, they hadn't attributed any acts of violence or increased crimes to the fact that we have these shops on our street corners. I think it's a matter of time, though. I think it's simply a matter of time before we start seeing some problems.
It's only a matter of time.
I mean, that's like Republican 101. I'm going to predict something, it's not going to happen, and then I'm going to tell you that it might happen again in the future. Not might, he was pretty sure that it is going to happen. Just for some of the numbers for you, in the first 2 months, overall property crime actually fell by 14.6% in Denver, and dramatic violent crime was down by 2.4%. So you can't necessarily get that much from those numbers, but that's
a matter of time, Dave, not how long.
It's just a matter. It's at some point some shit's gonna go down. Right?
That's a pretty big drop, though. 14% drop over what is essentially 2 months, 3 months?
And we don't know how much of that can be directly attributable to legalization
but still,
of pot.
That's a big drop.
Yeah. Well, there's probably I know a lot fewer illegal pot sales were going on, so there's less crime in that regard. But yeah, like the fact that they're still sticking to it. What's most frustrating is when you see that guy say, okay, I've seen these 3 months, there's been nothing crazy going on. He hasn't been convinced by the evidence. The whole reason that we were excited for this experiment to be done in these states is so that when they try to do it in another state and the same BS arguments are brought up, you can point to the example. Like in the past, we would point to, say, Portugal or the Netherlands or something like that. That's too distant. We want to point to Colorado and Washington and say, this is the example we have. There hasn't been crime. But it looks like the Republicans, assisted by Fox News, are not going to take that evidence into consideration, which is disappointing.
And can I give you a quick Jared Wright anecdote, very quick, because I might be the only person you know who has one. Two months ago, he's a state representative from Colorado. It's his first term. 2 months ago, I think it was 2 months ago, maybe it was 3 months ago, it was this year, at a conceal and carry hearing in Colorado, he made this speech about how important it is at the hearing because people who conceal and carry are much more responsible gun owners. They have to go through, et cetera, et cetera. Well, hours after that speech, his loaded gun was found under the chair he'd been sitting on. During the hearing, they found a bag. He had forgotten his gun there. His loaded gun. And he said because he's a peace officer, he's allowed to carry one at the state capitol. But because people who are so responsible, people who have conceal and carry are so much more responsible.
No, but that makes a lot of sense, though, because if you're a responsible concealed carry person and you have the gun on you, theoretically it could go off. If you leave it somewhere else, you can't shoot it.
That's a good point. You win.
That's what we call a jumping logic.
You win, John.
By the way, shouldn't the Republicans, because we know they care about taxes all the time, Colorado generated $14 million in the first month of legalized weed. So if nothing else, shouldn't that override their fear logic in this department?
And that's not counting extra snacks.
All it is was the subtle mention of that store on your neighborhood corner that he referred to. That's what scares Republicans, is that the bad element in the neighborhood.
Yeah. What do you make, though, of a guy that can't read the tea leaves on this? That knowing that everyone in the state is for it, just wanting to protect his own ass.
Well,
that's the part that I think is bizarre.
There's everybody, whenever there's social change of any kind, there are always the laggards who look ridiculous right now. If you look at civil rights and you see these last hangers-on, gay rights, you look at that, these last haters and hangers-on. Climate change. Climate change less so, because there isn't a day, there isn't legislation that can change that the way there is with pot and with gay marriage and with civil rights. I mean, it's a little more nebulous in the actually very, very literal sense of the word. But I do think that there are always these people that are the last hangers on. You look back now at the civil rights movement, you see these old senators who were talking about segregation, and you just saw time pass them by.